Victor Lilo. You did a podcast with Yuval Leor where you discussed the possibility that LRH had some sort of epilepsy in his brain. You reviewed the symptoms that are involved with a patient with this particular disease. I found this analysis to be most interesting indeed. You have uncovered part of the why with this analysis. Can you offer more insight with regards to the motives of LRH in light of this recent discovery? Yeah, I think Yuval was really onto something, and to this day I still think that he was right, that L. Ron Hubbard suffered from temporal lobe epilepsy, which is a very specific kind of epilepsy that has as one of its symptoms a sort of a religious epiphany or religious fervor that takes over a person. And it doesn't have to be a pro-religious fervor. It could be, a very anti-religious fervor too. But in Hubbard's case, it sort of, I believe, contributed to his sort of megalomania and his ideas or delusions of grandeur, I guess you could say, where he felt, I really truly believe that Hubbard truly believed that he was meant for huge, gigantic things in this world, and that he had come to realize something that no other person had realized. And according to what we know and have read about his life, he had this religious epiphany, which was the result of an epileptic seizure because of the temporal lobe epilepsy that he suffered from. And if we're right about that, right, then that created this religious fervor in him, and he wrote Excalibur, or the Dark Sword, as a result of that. And he thought he had nailed something about how people work and how to deal with people and how to handle people and how to control them in a way that he thought was going to be, this book was going to be more popular than the Bible. Is literally what he said. So that did not get the reception he thought it should have gotten. Nobody really wanted to publish it, and so he packed it away and brought it back out in 1947 when he wrote what was originally called Scientology, A New Science. What that book became, that manuscript became, Dianetics, the Original Thesis. And that, of course, developed into Dianetics, the Modern Science of Mental Health. And 2 years later, he trots out the word Scientology again and is bringing out Scientology as a religion, right? And the whole time there's this idea that he's really onto something, that is going to just change the world. And I think he really thought that. At the same time, he was a pathological liar. There's no way he didn't know that. And he was a con man. He was, always out for money, always taking money from people, taking money from things. And he bankrupted Dianetics twice because of his inability to hold on to money. So he had both of these things going. So as far as motivations go, I think he was kind of, I think he was a positive and negative poled kind of person. I think he was bouncing back and forth between these, like, yeah, I'm going to save the world and I'm the best there is and I'm the man and I've got the inside knowledge and I, and I've got this like amazing knowledge or, have had these epiphanies and I have this inside skinny. And at the same time, money, power, greed, women, I think he was bouncing between both of these things. And that, Jesus, what an existence, right? And he, of course, drank and, if we are to believe all the stories, and he was maybe on some drugs as well. Over-medicating, that kind of thing. So pretty wild times. And somehow he calmed down from that in sometime during the 1950s and got going and put an organization together that he built up into the Church of Scientology International. And I think that whole time that he was doing that, his motivations were these two things. I think he was bopping back and forth between both of these things. And that's kind of my analysis of Hubbard's thinking, right? Is fervent greatness, slam my name into history, be the greatest philosopher and writer of all time, certainly one of the most prolific, and knowingly conning people and knowing that he was leading them down a garden path, and somehow these two things reconciled in his mind. I don't know how they wouldn't reconcile in mine, But that is how I think he lived his life after Dianetics, and it eventually drove him mad. And I think that TLE was part of that madness, and that's very unfortunate for him. But you know, couldn't happen to a nicer guy.